And just let me know if you can see my PowerPoint.
Yeah, we can see it perfectly.
Awesome. All right, so let me just reduce that. All right, guys, so I'm going to just talk about our product first, and then I'm going to attempt to do a live demo, which is something, as you would always know, it's a bit risky, but we're going to give it a go anyway. So hi, everybody. Nice to meet everybody again. My name is Mark Paul, and I'm the founder of Itheum. And Itheum is the world's first decentralized cross-chain data brokerage service. And I'm going to talk about what we do, the problems we're solving, and then I'm going to dive into sort of the key technology elements, and I'll end with a very quick demo of our current state of our platform. All right, so the problem we're trying to solve is the problem of centralized data brokers who essentially collect, hoard, and sell your personal data for profit. So you will be familiar with these brokers. I mean, there are the first-party brokers. These are the large enterprises who provide you like free services, and in return, they take your data and then they probably learn more about you and sell you more products. But the more nefarious of them are the third-party data brokers, and they kind of operate in the shadows. There are about 4,000 of these worldwide, and they have at least 3,000 data points about every single one of you, and most of you probably don't even know this. So this is centralized data brokerage brokers who exist in the world today. Now, you're probably wondering why this market exists, and that's because your personal data is worth a lot of money. Your individual data might not seem like it's worth a lot. Like, for example, your email address alone is worth about $89. But it gets really interesting when you start looking at your health data, for example. So your personal health data is worth around $1,500 per year. Or when it's part of a data set, it's significantly more valuable. For example, NHS in the UK, their data set's valued at 14 billion a year. But when we start moving into more detailed, specific, sensitive data of yours, like your raw DNA, that's worth about 2,100, and your DNA with your phenotypes is worth $7,000. So it's no surprise that the current centralized data brokerage market is worth over $200 billion a year. Like I said, this is a secretive market that not many people know about. So we got to wonder why this exists, right? Most concepts of brokers like travel agents, they're being replaced by like deal aggregators. You get the ad brokers who are being replaced by ad marketplaces. And in sort of the fintech world, like, stock brokers and traditional fund managers are being replaced by ETFs and DeFi and all this. So why does this industry of centralized data brokers continue to exist? Well, we've been studying this space for a long time, and we feel like we understand the current toxic environment, and that's how we propose our technology to kind of hopefully fix this problem. So here we have large enterprise companies who are monopolizing the data collection and the analytics technology. And because they monopolize this, they're able to lock their data into silos. What this leads to is all of these small to medium businesses and sort of research institutes, government bodies, not-for-profits, people who are trying to do things for the social good, they don't have access to personal data. And the only way they can get access to data is they have to then go to these secondary markets and buy data from the third-party data brokers. Now, what this leads to is more demand for personal data. And therefore, these third-party data brokers then go and kind of buy data from the first-party brokers, and then this toxic cycle just keeps continuing. So Itheum's value proposition is we provide two distinctive platforms. We provide a data collection and analytics toolkit that democratizes the ability for even the small to medium businesses and research institutes to collect personal data. And then we provide the fully decentralized data DEX, which has all the tools that allows you to unlock this data. And what happens over time, and is what we hope, is that we will erode the need for third-party data brokers, and at the same time, we enable personal data sovereignty as well. So we are heading more into sort of the technology side of our platform. We got, like I mentioned, two distinctive products. We have a data collection and analytics toolkit. This is not a decentralized product. This is more centralized. And the reason it is centralized is because it doesn't have to be decentralized. Think of this as a collection of tools, SDKs that lets anybody build data collection apps and platforms. So we already have a few people using this. They're very easy to use. You can spin it up, you can build up an app, and then it starts to collect structured personal data. And the second more important product that we offer is our decentralized data exchange. This is 100% decentralized, governed by DAOs. If you watch our other video that we presented the other day, the entire platform is governed by two DAOs, one being a DAO of DAO and the other being individual autonomous DAOs that trade in data. So when these two platforms work together, they enable we essentially control the entire life cycle of data collection all the way up to the trade. And it ends up being completely decentralized when it's put together. So this is the world today with centralized data brokers. So on the left of your screen, that's you there. You're using all of these apps that have been put up by these big enterprises actually start to hoard your data. Right in the middle of your screen there, you see the current data brokers who essentially prevent your data from flowing over to the right side of your screen there. And the real innovation for social good is happening on the right side of the screen. You have the researchers, drug discovery teams, the machine learning research, model builders. They don't have access to any of this data, or actually they have access to very little data. The outcome of this is you'll see that the data flow is predominantly on the centralized left side of the screen. And if you look at the bottom of your screen there, you'll see that then the real data innovation is only available as this exclusive paid product, whereas it should be a social good product or just even an affordable product, right? So things like early detection of diseases like cancer or better access to financial aid, all of these things are not happening because the data flow is almost stopped right here in the center there, thanks to these current data brokers. Now imagine the world with Itheum in it. So like I was saying, Itheum provides, we're not just an app, we're actually a protocol. We're protocol level, and we provide a whole sort of set of features that facilitate data to flow much more openly. So, and I'm going to go into these features very shortly. So within our data decks, which is think of it as the portal that houses all of these individual features, which together make up a core infrastructure or core protocol. We have a bunch of features now. The first one we have there that's highlighted is what we call peer-to-peer sales. So using this toolkit, you can enter the data decks, you can put your personal data for sale. I mean, this can be anything. You can be your Facebook data, for example, which, as most of you will know, you can actually go into Facebook and download your entire data. So you can come into our data decks, put it for sale, and on the other end of the spectrum, you can get buyers who are willing to buy that from you. So you would use the peer-to-peer sales for unlimited sale of your data. And we recommend this for scenarios when the data is not so sensitive. Another good example of why you would use this, if let's say you want to connect your wearable devices and you just want to share your fitness and your activity data, which is not really that sensitive, you can use the peer-to-peer sales feature. Now, for data that's more sensitive, and the example we give is things like your blood test results, or even your DNA sort of sequencing or partial sequencing results, you can use our feature that we've pioneered called the data NFTs. And what this does is it wraps your data in the NFT standard, and it enables some interesting properties. For example, the limited minting and sharing. So you can control the amount of copies of this data that could be shared. And it also enables royalties. So if somebody were to buy this sensitive data, get access to it, and you allow them to resell it, when you resell it, you could get a cut of that through a royalty. Our most important and key feature is called the data coalition. So we presented this in detail in our previous presentation for the DAOs. Now, the data coalitions are essentially DAOs, and they allow for the grouped bulk sale of data. Now, if you think about it, if you alone go and sell your data, it's probably not worth a lot of money. But let's say we were to group you into people who are very similar to you, who have similar conditions, financial or health conditions. Now that is a bulk data set, and it's significantly worth a lot of money. So data coalitions are a product which are fully decentralized. They're DAOs themselves, and they allow for the facilitation of this bulk sale of data, handling things like finding the appropriate buyer, mediating the sale, conflict resolution in case it's a sale that went wrong. It does all of these things fully autonomously. The next feature we have is called data vaults. Now, if you were to want to sell your really personal or sensitive data, and this could be demographic data like your gender, your age, your health conditions, your family history, in more cases, you attach this kind of sensitive data to your regular data, it grows the value of of the data set. So we have this concept of a data vault, which enables per user encryption. So it's encrypted per user. And then what you can do is you can attach the contents of this vault to any of these other data products that we have, and then that would grow in value. The next feature we have is called data streams. Now, this is for longitudinal personal data streams, whereas all the other features allow for just a sort of a data file, or a single point in time data set to be uploaded. Data streams allow for people to subscribe to a stream of data, and then they could they pay per period, so they could pay a moment access to this data stream for a month, and then they can get access to that continuously. A good example of this is something that you would collect on an ongoing basis. Variable data is a good example of that. Next feature we have is called data adapters. Now, data adapters are, think of them as the ability to bring all the knowledge about you, all your personal knowledge about you, into an on-chain world. So we have on-chain and off-chain data adapters. So off-chain being we would hook up to all these APIs, variable products, and we would suck in data and then make them available through the Itheum data lakes. Or on-chain data adapters know your on-chain activity, trace back to your address. So we use things like the graph. We can see your transactions. We can look at all your history, and we keep that all available in a single place. And you can choose to then add this data in, and then value add to your other data sets as well. And finally is a product we have called personal data proofs. And this is probably one of the most interesting products that we have. And this allows for third-party smart contract access to your data. The way to compare this is very similar to what Chainlink does. So Chainlink enables within smart contracts the ability to see real-world events through decentralized oracles. Itheum does the same thing through personal data proofs, but we enable for personal data to be used within smart contracts, and that's the personal data proof. Now, unfortunately, I can't go through all the technical details for everything here because of the time limits that I've been given to talk today, but I want to talk about personal data proofs because that has some real interesting use cases. So as I was mentioning, personal data proofs allows for your personal data to be available within smart contracts. And this opens up a whole new set of use cases, right? One use case we will talk about a bit later, I think in the next slide, is the ability for like a loan issuing DApp that wants to use your personal details to approve something, a loan that might be quite complicated. So it's not like a simple sort of loan, but something like a home loan that you would need to know a bit more additional details about you. So enable that data to be available through personal data proofs. So just like how real data is offered within smart contracts thanks to Chainlink, Itheum enables personal data proofs to be available on chain for smart contracts to use. I think it'll make a lot of sense as I talk about this use case. So what you're seeing on screen here is currently the traditional way a home loan is approved via a bank, right? So you get the borrower on screen there, they apply a loan to the bank. The loan goes and checks verifies the eligibility of this borrower. Essentially what they're doing is they're looking at loan default risk assessment. And guess who they're using to do this? They're using centralized data brokers. They use a data broker to get your credit risk score or your FICO score. And then they go to a loan broker, and then they get the loan broker to fill a whole application form about you. So they understand your financial history, your income history, your spending habits. Then they look at all of these data, and then they know your default risk score, and then they determine, for example, your eligibility is good, and they approve your loan, and then you start paying your repayments. So any one of you who has taken a home loan before will be familiar with this process. But let's imagine now we want to move this real world scenario into the decentralized world, right? So what would a home loan application via a DeFi platform look like? Well, here we got lenders who are giving their funds to the DeFi lending platform, which is essentially a bunch of smart contracts. And then you get the borrower who comes in there and they apply for a loan. Now we need to go through some on-chain approval process. So the current lending platforms on DeFi use things like just regular collateral or flash loans and all of these concepts. But what if it's a complex loan or there's no collateral? And what we had to do is then we need to do something similar to what the bank is doing, which is a loan default risk assessment. So using Itheum's on-chain data adapters, we are able to then pull all the history of this borrower, on-chain history of this borrower, for example, their crypto collateral checks, their previous loan defaults on the Web3 world, their address activity, their to hodl, which is quite important to know, and their stake and bonds holding in various platforms, right? So this is knowing essentially their credit score, on-chain credit score. But we also need some other information about them, right? Because like I said, this is a complex loan, not just the simple loans that we see in current DeFi world. In personal, so we may need something like that. We need to understand their financial history, their income history, their spending habits, their family dependence work. This is where Etheum's personal data proofs comes in. So it allows you to collect that kind of information and bring it on chain and verify the integrity of it. So then we could take it to something like a DAO vote, which looks at all of this information holistically, and they would apply, would pass that loan, and the loan gets approved, and this borrower makes the repayments, and the lenders get back funds with their interest for giving in their credit. Now, what the other interesting thing that this enables is all of this information that you see that was used for assessment of the loan. Well, all of this is on chain. So technically, all of this belongs to the borrower and it's in their wallets, right? So what could happen is then they could take all of that information and then go to another DeFi lending platform, and they could potentially get their home loan refinanced. Now, if you imagine this happening in the real world, if you want to refinance your loan, it's such a difficult process. You need to find another home loan broker who's going to run all of these checks again. Well, we have all of these checks on chain. And the other wonderful part about this is refinancing a home loan, for example, can happen fully autonomously because all of this information, again, is on chain. We talk about, this is another example of for health insurance, for example, using personal data proofs. So you get a customer here who's applying for health insurance. It goes through some home loan approval process. We use health and wellness proofs, essentially data collected about this person, which is verifiable on chain. And then we add personal data proofs on top of that. Think of this as like any sort of questionnaires or any pre-existing health assessments. Bring it to another DAO vote. The DAO decides then that the underwriting result on this would be a monthly premium of X amount and a max payout of Y amount. And that is approved, and then the person gets insured. And like the other example, they have all of this data on chain. They can go and get they can go and then shop around the decentralized blockchain insurance world and get lower premiums. So all of this, again, can happen fully autonomously. All right, so I'm going to now try to attempt to do a live demo of our current state, and then I'll come back to this slide deck. So let me just swap to my browser, and I'll just get confirmation if you guys can see my Chrome browser.
Yeah, so
okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. All right, so this is our current state that's deployed to multiple testnets. So as I think I mentioned this, but maybe I'll mention it again. We're cross-chain, and our objective is to run in as many EVM compatible chains as possible, and then we would bridge together. And the other thing is we would pick a chain. We still haven't decided which is our main chain. And then we would have side tokens, and then we bridge the tokens across. And the reason we are cross-chain is because we look at things like data sharing. That shouldn't be only on one chain, right? There could be people around the world sharing data. We want them to be able to go to the chain that they prefer, pay the fees that they prefer, and so on and so forth. So in this example, I am using one of the Polygon chain here. So I'm just going to sign in there. And you notice here, it signs in with your regular address. It can detect our utility token balance here. One thing you notice that it's connected to the Itheum's data collection and analytics toolkits, and it's pulled all these users' data. And you can even just come and join any sort of apps that are here right now by just clicking on that link. So that's a app that you could join. Just jump back to the demo. Okay, so I won't go through every single feature here, but I'll talk about some of the key features that we have. So you can actually go in here and you can sell your personal data. So like I said, it's already pulled all these data from apps that are using our toolkits. But you can even go and sell any arbitrary data set, or you can, for example, sell your Facebook data as well. So I'm going to go through the process. Before I do that, let me check if I've got any data. Okay, cool. So let me just go in here and I'm going to sell a arbitrary data set. So I'm going to first decide if I want to sell this as a data pack, which is the peer-to-peer sale that I was talking about. So unlimited supply, no resale, no royalty, or I can sell it as a data NFT, which is limited editions, resale with a royalty attached to it. So for this use case, I'm going to pick data NFT, and I'm going to sell. I'm simulating the sale of a piece of DNA data encoded in a format that is called FHIR, which is a way for health data to be shared autonomously. So I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to put a title. So my DNA data, and I can say some description, my DNA data. I can pick the price that I want to set it at. And I can pick the copies I want to mint and the royalties. This is still being built. And then I can pick the terms of use. So I can say I want to sell this for research purposes or commercial, or I'm going to say full licensing. And I'm going to give this a go. Keep in mind, guys, this is a demo, so hopefully it all works. So one thing that's very interesting that you noticed here is that we actually use general art to take the uniqueness of your data and we convert it to an image. So that adds some sort of gamifies this whole experience. And also to know that this image here is completely unique to your data. So it's the perfect sort of use case for like a rare data and gives it value in that way. So what it's doing now is it's minting this NFT on the blockchain, and it's actually put it for sale. So if I go into the the NFT catalog, and I enter my catalog, I should be able to see, yep, you can see that I put in my data there, and these are all the sort of other data I put in here. This is a cross-chain catalog, so you can actually go in here and you can see, you can even just take it to OpenSea, and it's available in OpenSea for sale as well. So this opens up secondary markets, and you can, for example, you're selling it here using our utility token, but here it could be sold in Ether. I can go to the marketplace and then look at other NFTs that are for sale by other people. So this is the data NFT feature that I've showed you. The other features that we have are the data coalitions. So like I said, these are coalitions that you can align to and sell your data in bulk. This is something we're actively building now, but we've got 2 running already. These are DAOs by themselves. So these are individual DAOs, and you can kind of stake to them, you can bond to them, you can do all these very interesting things to them. We've got a whole bunch of other features that I won't go into here, but feel free to go into our YouTube videos, and we've got some demos about all of that. These are your personal data proofs, like I was saying. Remember, personal data proofs are sort of points of your data that you have actually completed in the past that are stored on chain, and they are verifiable on chain. And smart contract developers around the world, if they know that the proof ID, could verify it within their smart contract code and enable all of those interesting use cases of home loans, etc. So I'm going to log out of this, and I'm just going to show you one last thing, which we're quite excited to announce, that a couple of days ago, we actually deployed all our contracts and our applications to Harmony, and we've been testing it. So let's see if that kind of works real quick. And I'll do this really quick because I know I'm running out of time. So let me just jump to my Harmony testnet and just reload our build here. And you notice that our primary chain in this instance is Harmony. And if you log in there, you get in and you see that it's the exact experience, and you can go and sell sort of all this data. So you can sell, for example, your blood pressure data here that's pulled from programs. I can sell it. It generates a tamper-proof signature on chain. It's advertising it for sale. And it should work. So the reason we're considering Harmony as one of our key chains is, as was mentioned before, is because we think this is it's a data platform. We cannot have high gas costs. We're also very interested in the sort of bridging capabilities. So Harmony is definitely something we're considering, and definitely if you would like to see this in the Harmony chain, please consider supporting us. So you notice I've actually put my data for sale here. If I go in here, I can see I've just advertised this. It's here, and I can go into the marketplace and just buy other people's data as well. So this enables all of that. The reason I can't buy there is because I don't have the utility token, but we have a free faucet here that can give you that utility token. Sorry that I had to speed through that demo. Let me just jump back here and then finish up my last two slides. All right, so the other very interesting part that we're working on, and we've just signed an MOU with one of the largest privacy-preserving blockchain providers in the world, is we enable what's called our trusted computation framework. Now, there are scenarios you're probably thinking, okay, people come and put junk data in here just to make some money. Well, what we have to do then is enable data credibility scoring, and that's how we use our trusted computation framework. So this is a bunch of trusted nodes running trusted execution environments, and it enables the data coalition DAOs to put sample data in there and buyers to put sample algorithms, and it's run within this trusted computation framework, with exposing the buyer or the seller, and it's able to determine the data quality as well as whether the algorithms are used as per the terms of the data, and then it mediates the sale. So this is a really interesting sort of product that we have, and we're doing a proof of concept on this right now. So that's it. All I had to show for today. I wish I could have spoken a bit more about our tech, but definitely very interested for us to continue our journey into Harmony. And kind of explore this further. So if you guys would love to see this in running as a first-class citizen in Harmony, please consider supporting us. You can support us in multiple ways. At the very least, please join our community and then see how we are tracking, and keep up to date with us and ask us any questions. Thank you very much. And I'll